Hey, what it do, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. So we're gonna be working on the water trucks in today's video. I don't know if you guys remember, well, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 months ago, we went and picked up that old Ford water truck, and then we got the one with the Detroit at my house. Well, the one with the Detroit, I ended up talking to the previous owner this week, and he kind of spilled the beans on how to get it to work and whatnot. And I think the truck's actually 100% already. So just pulling up to my buddy Jason's house, and we're gonna be working on the old Ford today. We're gonna try and figure out exactly what it needs so we can get that thing up and running, drive it back to my house, and hopefully have 2 water trucks at the ranch, because fire season I think is gonna be out of control this year.
I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law, hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night, try to catch me all the afternoon.
All right, so we got the hood up on the old Ford. Now this has an old Cummins in it, and I'm not super familiar with this engine. Now typically diesel engines will have like a common rail fuel system, or they'll have like a rotary style pump or a piston style pump, and this one's not really any of these. From what we can tell, I'm not sure which line it is, but basically it has a high pressure line that goes up into the cylinder head somewhere and kind of fuels all the cylinders at the same time. And I'm pretty sure that the injectors are cam driven. Don't quote me on that. I'm really not familiar with this engine. And really it doesn't matter too much because it runs great. The problem that we're having is that we can't get the engine to shut off. So I think that this wire right here needs to be connected to that terminal. I'm pretty sure this is the fuel shutdown solenoid of sorts. But we're gonna go ahead and put the batteries in this thing. We're gonna get it fired up, and then we're gonna play around with the injection pump and see if we can get it to shut off from inside the cab or even outside the cab. Because right now we basically have to suffocate the engine to get it to shut off. And then the next problem, this truck doesn't have brakes. So that's the next thing we gotta dive into, is figuring out why this truck has no brakes. Well, let's go ahead and get these guys. It's got 4 cables in there.
This is marked, and this one's marked, so I would say these 2 are, and these 2 are negative.
We got room for 2 more batteries in here. Gotta love these homemade trucks, finding stuff that confuses you all the time. There's this little jumper cable up here, and we're like, maybe this was a 24 volt system, but the way that the wires go to the battery, I'm like 95% sure it's just a 12 volt system, not 24. So anyhow, oh, I heard clicks. What do you think? Think it'll start? I'll go ahead and get this close. Ugh. A little bit nicer in here than inside the old Road King. So I think this truck is probably in a little bit better shape than the one at my house. A lot of rat poop, but I do like the control box here a little bit better. It's actually got a seat over there, but I don't think the radiator has any water in it, so I gotta kind of get to work and try and figure out what's going on real quick. So this is why it pays to have a friend like Jason. He knows way, way more than I do. I'm gonna go ahead and start this truck up again, just for the video's sake. And then on the back of the injection pump, this is pretty much like a fuel shutdown solenoid type deal. There's a little dial that's right here. I don't know if you guys are gonna see that, but you rotate this guy, it shuts. It's really not the end of the world if we don't figure out why it's not working. I could just pop the hood and then screw that out, and we'd be good. But we want to be able to do this from inside the cab, so we're gonna go ahead and take this off and see what's in there. Sure, my hair looks great. All right, so I think we've got it figured out. Basically, this little guy right here is a 12 volt magnet. You guys can see this portion right here is what's supposed to magnetize, but it's not. So basically you have this that goes on the back side of the injection pump. You have this guy right here, which when you energize that magnet, it basically pulls this in and allows fuel to go by. And when you de-energize the magnet, this releases and shuts off fuel supply. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on because, like I said, it's not the end of the world. There is a quick and easy way to turn it off. I'm just gonna have to like find one of these, and when I do, we'll go ahead and put it on. But for now, gonna go ahead and put it back together. Then we're gonna start looking into where some of the air leaks might be. All right, so I've been working in the cab a little bit, trying to get it cleaned up because it was just a mess in here. You guys can see that I got this seat out, got the doghouse out, we got the shop back up here. Basically got it wrapped around the steering column so it doesn't fall out. But not a whole lot of room. I was kind of hoping that the doghouse like would have come to here so we could get a little bit cleaner, but there was just a huge nest of something back here. I'm not sure what animal made their house back there, but I've been cleaning it out for probably about 10 minutes and I'm still not even halfway. I'm gonna go and stick the camera down there so you guys can see what's going on. So basically you come down here, and I haven't seen it, but I can feel it. Yeah, but the reason that we're doing it is you guys can probably hear it. There's a super big air leak somewhere down in there, which is prohibiting the truck from building air, which means we don't have brakes. And for this thing to move, obviously we need brakes. So I'm gonna keep cleaning out down here. Hopefully we can find that air leak. So I'm gonna go ahead and crawl under the truck because I can't quite get a feel on it, but this kind of gives you guys a better look at the rat's nest too, just out of control. You guys, Jason's got all the cool tools. Check this out. Cat blowgun with like a 5-foot long hose on it, or metal rod. I gotta get one of these. So overall, today was a pretty good day with the old 4 water truck. I have a list of things that I need to get. One of them being a water pump. The water pump on this engine is completely seized up. I mean, dead. So gotta get a new one of those. Gotta find that fuel shutoff thing, whatever that's called. And then I gotta pick up a bunch of air hoses, all different sizes. I think we have tracked down pretty much all the hoses that are bad. So probably when I'm in town tomorrow, I'm gonna pick up a bunch of different hoses like this guy. This one's trash. A bunch of the air hoses are just garbage. The ones right here that hook up to the shifter, if you go down underneath the floor, they're just leaking like crazy, which any leaky hose is a bad hose. So I'm gonna pick up a bunch of hoses tomorrow, and then I think from there we might be able to limp it back to my house. If we can get the water pump going and we can get air, I think we're good. The tires are in bad shape, but we're just gonna go slow. There's not gonna be water in the tank. I think we can make it. What about you? Yeah, you mean good? All right. Right on, brother, thanks. All right, we'll pull him back up to Jason's house. I think today is the day where we get to drive this thing home. I cross my fingers. I got the water pump. We're gonna try and set one of the tires back on the bead. We're gonna try and fix all the air lines. I stopped by Wetmore's this week, dropped a ton of money on air hoses and fittings and just a bunch of random stuff. So hopefully today is the day we get this thing back to the ranch. So before I jump too far into it, I'm gonna go ahead and see if she starts it. Ooh, left the key on. So that was definitely not good. I went ahead and pushed the button right here and then I got stuck and it just kept spinning and spinning. So I had to disconnect the batteries real quick because it just wouldn't shut off. But I'm gonna go ahead and air up the system and then we're gonna try and get some of those air leaks fixed. All right, well I got fitting number 1 off. As you guys can tell, it's a little bit on the dark side back there. And when I get my arm back in there, my head's totally faced like the other direction. And so it's pretty much just like doing it by feel, but we got it out. So let's see if I actually picked up any of the right fittings. I got a bunch of them. Maybe this guy right here. All right, well, I think we got ourselves a winner. This is the replacement for this one. I went with the push style connector. It's easier, faster. These have their pros and cons, but for this application, I think this is gonna do just fine. All right, let's see if I can go ahead and get this installed without knocking any junk in the transmission. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see anything, but I'm gonna set the camera up back here anyways. Oh, that's not too bad. So I did get that fitting on there, but I dropped one. I'm gonna go ahead and try and attempt to find it. This is gonna be like some Where's Waldo action going on right now. Let me see. I think it dropped in like this area, more or less. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Nice. You got it. All right, so things were looking pretty good. I took the bottom hose off the radiator to go ahead and start draining it. An actual green antifreeze came out. So I was like, oh man, this thing's in good shape. Well, I just took off the top hose assembly. You guys can see that it's a little bit crumbly. I'm not sure if you guys can see this on the camera, but we pretty much just have like rust flakes come out. So we're gonna have to flush the radiator pretty good. Then we'll get it all put back together. Hopefully it holds water, but regardless, the water pump is seized up, so I gotta change all this out still. Basically, all this has to come out before we can replace the pump. So making good progress, but man, is it hot out here. All right, so we're getting kind of close to actually being able to touch the water pump. Pretty much everything had to come out that was above it. Right now, I'm about to take the fan out. There used to be a big bracket, which is this guy right here, that was bolted to this. That was for the air conditioning. This is the power steering pump. Had to slide this over, take the belts off. Had to take the belts off of that, so I can lift that out right now. And then after that's done, I can actually start touching the water pump. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift this guy out, and then we get to take off the water pump. Whew. All right, well, just lifted the fan out. That is a heavy son of a gun right there. So we're gonna go ahead and grab these hoses. We'll go ahead and set those right there next to the fan. I think we can start taking stuff off the water part now. This is another one of those cases of the engineer versus the mechanic. The water pump has this tensioner pulley that goes in right here, basically moves up and down, has a bolt that comes in right here that threads into that so you can get the proper tension on the pulley, while the water pump has one bolt right here where you have to take this guy off in order to get to it. This has to come off anyways, but it would be like easier to do with it outside of the truck. Kind of a hassle that you have to take it off to get this last bolt out, but as soon as I get this one out, that should be it. A couple whacks of the hammer and this thing's coming off. There we go, free bird. All right, well, I finally got the water pump off, and when this thing was on the truck, this was pretty well seized up, and you guys can see that there is quite a bit of residue built up back here. I'm almost thinking there was like some rust lodged up in between here and the housing on the block, because now that it's off, this thing spins pretty freely and doesn't sound awful. So now I have the dilemma. Do I put this back on and take the other one back, or since I have it all apart, put the new one on and keep this one as a backup? Regardless, I'm not gonna be able to finish today. I gotta get going. This is my stopping point for the day. Pretty much had to take everything apart. This is off, and when I come back next time, it's put everything back together. I fixed most of the air leaks this morning, and it should be roadworthy enough to make it back to my house because I just live on the other side of the hill. So I'm gonna call it a wrap for today, and I'll be back here at some other point next week. All right, so it's been a couple days since I was here last, but technically this is day number 3. It is a hot one again today, so I came a little bit more on the prepare side. I brought an easy up. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this up first, and then I think today is the day where I get to drive this thing home. All right, well, already a huge improvement with the easy up. Last time I was up here when I was working on everything, if I had to touch this, lean my elbow on this, or whatever I leaned up against would burn me. So even though it's super hot out today, that's why I got the long sleeve shirt on, to try and avoid that. So I think with that and the easy up, I think today's gonna be a productive day. But the first thing I gotta do is we gotta flush out the system because there was a ton of rust in it. So I'm probably gonna have to find the thermostat and take that out too, see if that works. And now that I think about it, probably should have picked up a new one of those too. But so I've been trying to find a thermostat on this thing for the better part of 5 minutes, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it has one. I can't find where it would be. We got this contraption right here that I know water comes in and out of, but that's super rusty. We got another outlet down here, that one's rusty. We got the main one down here, which is not rusty. You guys can see that it's still got the green antifreeze in there, but I don't know where the thermostat is. So I'm just gonna start hooking up a hose to it, and we're gonna see if water starts coming through, because other than that, I don't know where it would be. All right, well, if it isn't one thing, it's another. On this filler neck right here, you guys can see that we got a hole in it. So I'm gonna go have to try and weld this back together. Pretty sure that this is why the system was low on water, was because of this guy right here. The pipe itself doesn't look too bad, so I'm not 100% sure where that came from. Maybe it was just rubbing, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this welded back up. The water pump that I bought did come with new gaskets. The only problem being that this truck has like a weird extension flange with hoses that go into weird places that I don't think is typical for this water pump. So it only came with one of these, so I had to race home and make another one real quick. So when I originally looked at the water pump, I thought this was gonna be like a super quick, maybe 2-hour job, get it in and out. I have spent almost the entire morning cleaning surfaces, taking off old gasket material, getting everything ready. Luckily, Jason only lives like 10-15 minutes away, so coming back to grab that stuff was not a huge issue. But I think I'm to the point where everything is ready to start going back on. And from there, it should go pretty fast. Let's cross our fingers. All right, well, now the easy up number 2 is set up. We only have this little bit of sunlight right here. Got it as close as I could, but I can live with that. So anyhow, this is the plate that I was talking about. It's like a little bit of a spacer kind of, and it has these other fittings that come off of it. I don't know if this is standard issue on this truck. There are a ton of hoses on the other, which I'm not even sure why they have all of them, but because of this little guy, you need 2 gaskets. So that's why I had to run home and make this one right here. So now that I have this, I can go ahead and put all this together. And then there's a top piece somewhere right over there. It's that guy. This is gonna go on the very outer side. And then once this is all put together, I can go ahead and stick it up on the engine block. I'm about 95% sure that I got all this put back together. Before I go ahead and start getting ready to put this gasket on, I'm gonna go ahead and take the pump over there, do like a dry fit, make sure that I put these on right and that they're not rotated 90 degrees. And then once that's done, go ahead and put this gasket on and we'll get it on the front of the engine, finally. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys one of the things that I do not understand about this water pump. We got this elbow right here with this big old hose coming off into the bottom of the radiator right here, into the side tank. And then coming off the other side of the elbow right here, we have another outlet with another hose that hooks up to it. And it also comes into the bottom side of this reservoir tank right here. So I don't know why you need two of them. I don't know why this big one just doesn't suffice. Or if there's like a split tank in here. I don't know what this is for. Gonna have to fix that before I get going. This whole water pump assembly I think is way more confusing than it needs to be. But regardless, we got everything right the first try. It's all lined up how it's supposed to be. So from here, I can go ahead and put the gasket on the back side. We'll get it all put together, bolted up, and then the rest of it can go together. All right, so the real judge on if we get to drive this truck or not today is this guy right here. Have not put the belt on yet. All the research that I pointed to said that this was the right one. I just took it out of the case. So we're gonna go ahead and see if this thing fits. I'm a little on the nervous side because if it's not, it's a long trek back into town. But I think it's gonna be the right one. Let's go ahead and slip this on over. All right, we got a little bit of slack, which is what we want, because now we have to add the tensioner pulley right here. And when that pulls up on this, I think we'll be good. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a quick rundown on how this tensioner pulley works. So you guys can see that it's got some flat surfaces right there. It's gonna go ahead and slide into this guy right here with the threads facing vertically, if I can do that. All right, so what that allows to happen now is there's a tension rod that goes in there that's threaded that I'll show you guys in a little bit. Okay, so you're not gonna wanna put that super tight yet because you want this to be able to move up and down. And what that's gonna do is make this belt tighter. So as we put the tension rod in here, which I'll grab that in a second, you're gonna screw up and it'll pull this up tight and then you'll have tension on that belt. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and bring this pulley up. You'll see as I rotate this, the pulley starts to come up. So as this comes up, you just wanna make sure that all the grooves are in the right place. It looks getting pretty close. And then once we tighten this down, I think it's gonna pull that up just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a couple more cranks. Yeah, all right. I think it's gonna be good. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down and then we'll check for tightness. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and show you on camera. You might see it, you might not, but here's the pulley right here. What you're gonna wanna look for is it rotating up just a tiny bit as I snug this up. So here we go. Not sure if you saw that, but it did come up just a little bit. So let's go ahead and check how tight this is. I think that's about good. All right, well, everything's going back together pretty good. The water pump is fully installed. All the hoses are connected, fastened down, tightened, with the exception of this top radiator piece. That's because I got to put this guy in. That's probably like my least favorite part of this whole repair job, is putting in this big heavy fan. Well, when I say heavy, it's not like super heavy. It's just awkward because everything is like free spinning of each other and there's no good handholds on this fan. And you got to be super careful putting it in so you don't jack up the radiator. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and do it like the best I can, as carefully as I can, but it's never easy, it's never fun. But I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. All right, well that took a lot longer than I thought it would, but we have everything back together. The fan's in place, all the belts are tightened, power steering pump. That's the air conditioning bracket. I don't know that we'll ever use that, but I just need to fill up the radiator now, then we'll put the cap on. I'm just gonna fill it up with hose water for now. And then I'll probably run it for 10-15 minutes, check all the hoses, see if there's any major leaks. If there's like a couple small leaks, I'm okay with that because I really don't live that far away. So if we can get it to my house, I'll address the smaller leaks there. All right, she is topped off, more or less. Go ahead and put the cap back on. And yeah, I don't need that yet, but we'll tighten that up before we leave. Not a whole lot of room with the easy up. It's kind of blocking the door from opening, but let's go ahead and see if she'll fire off. Uh-oh. You know what? Probably forgot to back this guy out. Or in? I don't remember which way it is. All right, let's try that. All right, round two. So far so good. You guys can see the water pump back there is spinning freely. Everything's looking good. I'm liking it, I'm liking it. So the reason that you guys don't see the fan spinning right now, you guys can see how that plate right there is stationary. The truck gets hot enough, there's something in here that tells air to go to that fan clutch right there. There's a clutch in there that gets pushed forward with air, and then that'll lock the fan and make it spin. So we've got a pretty major leak on the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and have to shut this thing down. So the truck has a huge leak on this side, and it comes right out of this filter right here. And I don't know why this truck has a water filter. It's not super common, but it does. And it's got a huge hole right on the bottom side where water was just gushing out. So I need to see if there's a way to isolate this. If not, we're gonna have to get a new filter. It does have a valve right here, which I'm hoping I can close and it'll solve this problem. Well, it spins freely, so that's nice. Hopefully going all the way down shuts it off. So let's see. Okay, there's that. So I'm gonna have to fill this thing back up because it just dumped a ton of water. All right, so we can already tell that valve doesn't do anything. I went ahead and topped it off and, well, it's leaking again. So there are a couple more valves back here. I'm gonna see if any of those will isolate it. All right, so both of those valves actually have to be shut. This guy right here and this one right here. I think we've isolated this leak. I'll go ahead and try and find whatever filter this is because obviously there's a purpose for it. But for today, we're just trying to get it on the road. So that's fixed, that's fixed. I'm gonna go ahead and start it up again and see if we got any more leaks. So this shifter knob has like a serious leak in it. You guys can tell that it's leaking a bunch of air right there. So for the time being, we're just gonna like do that. And that's how we're gonna go home. No more leak. All right. She is building air pressure, that's a good sign. Man, you guys, I am beat, but you guys can see that the hood is down. Pretty much everything is okay. It's got a few minor leaks, but basically what we gotta do now is we gotta pull it forward and they gotta come back up. I'm gonna set this back tire against the rear right here. The truck has good brakes, but it does not have parking brakes. So I'm gonna try and get that figured out real quick. And then that tire on the other side needs to be set back on the bead, and then we'll air up all the tires. Then I think we're gonna drive this thing home. You know, this whole time I've been in here, I have not rolled the windows down, and I'm glad that they work. Huge perk. All right, well, so far so good. We are about halfway. We're on the dirt road, making our way, just taking it slow and easy. But overall, she's got like no power issues. She's going up the hill just fine. The engine sounds super healthy. I don't think the temperature gauge works, but I pulled over just a little bit ago to see how she was doing, grabbed the hoses. They didn't feel hot at all, so I think we're smooth sailing. I think we're gonna make it home. All right, well, huge relief. We are pulling into the shop right now. I'm gonna go ahead and park it right here. I'll probably end up moving some cars around, pulling the baler out since my hay's dead. And we'll probably stick her in this bay. And then the other truck with the old Detroit, it's hanging out just around the corner. It really doesn't need that much work. The sprayer system's like almost complete on it. And so tomorrow morning, I'll probably put that one all back together and I'll go park it somewhere. Maybe give it a little test run, see if it actually works. But this truck did good. Let's go ahead and put her in neutral, set the parking brake, even though it doesn't really work. And then let's see, turn the key off. But the truck does not shut off on its own. I'm gonna let it run for a minute or two and then we'll go ahead and cut the power. So what's kind of funny about this truck is after I fixed all the major leaks that were like underneath the cab, underneath the hood, the biggest air leak that is still existing is the air horns. You guys can hear that up there. So I'm gonna have to take those apart and see what's actually leaking on. So anyhow, super happy to have this truck out here. I think this is gonna be a huge asset to the ranch, especially when fire season comes, because it's like already here, but in all reality, it's probably gonna be in like a month or two when it's really time to start getting scared. Here, I've actually been talking with Cal Fire a little bit about doing a couple things that if a fire happens, it's gonna be super helpful. Thank you guys for watching. If you give me a huge solid like, subscribe, share this with amigos, hit that notification button down below so you guys can continue to see whatever else we got going on. I'll see you guys next time. Later.